Hi everyone, I'm so excited for today's video because I've been working on it on and off ever since September of 2019. I've been planning to do this video for years and I wanted to make it perfect and to cover everything that I can possibly think of. So welcome to Vinyl 101. I'm gonna talk and show a lot in this video, so make sure that you pay attention. First things first is the base coat. Apply any base coat that you want as long as it's not a peel-off base coat. Been there, done that, and as you can see, it's a huge mistake. Of course that you can use a peel-off base coat if you really want to, just make sure that you weaken the glue first. More about that will come next. Next is the base color. If you're using a base color, apply the color of your choice and let it dry completely. But if you're doing a negative space design, you can just use the base coat as your base. Now you have two options. Option number one, you apply top coat and wait a bit for it to dry completely. Option number two, you don't apply top coat and you have to wait a few hours so the polish will dry completely. If you want to finish it quickly because you don't have time or that you're impatient, then use top coat. But if you don't mind taking your time or that you have a base that you already applied yesterday or earlier today, it doesn't really matter, then you don't have to apply top coat. Also, if you're using a textured base and you want it to stay textured, then obviously you won't use top coat, so make sure that it dries completely. Make sure that the polish is completely dry or this will happen, and I promise you, you don't want that. If you're a beginner and you don't understand why top coat is necessary, here's why. Top coat has a different finish than regular polishes. It doesn't crack and has a complete dry finish. Also, it dries hella fast than regular nail polish as long as you have a good top coat. I used to have really crappy top coats and I had to wait for hours until they dried completely and it was a mess. So to sum it, top coat is important, but not really if you're using vinyls, because as you can see here, I didn't use top coat. I let it a few hours to dry and well, it came out perfect. It didn't peel the polish underneath, under it or anything, but also it's because that the vinyl is really thin, but more on that later. There are thousands of types of vinyls. As you can see here, I have a few and I actually don't really use them. But here's a bonus tip on how to store vinyls. You can store them in a small photo album like me. I don't only use it to store vinyls, I also use it to store nail studs and rhinestones and all of that stuff. It's good if you want to be organized. So anyways, there are a lot of types of vinyls, but in my opinion, there are main ones. Number one is striping tapes. There are thin, thick, and even Chevron striping tapes, and usually the glue isn't too strong. Number two are thick and big or shaped designs. There are so many options, and usually the glue is really strong. And number three, detailed designs with removable thingies inside. The vinyl itself has a really thin, delicate design inside, and the glue is usually not that strong and meaningful, but it is good enough for it to stick on the nail properly. What I mean when I talk about the glue strength is that if you're using a peel-off base coat, or if you haven't used top coat and the base isn't completely dry, or even if the glue is just ridiculously strong, then you need to weaken the glue of the vinyl. When it comes to weakening the glue, you have two options. Option number one, stick it on gently on the back of your hand, remove it, and then place it on the nail. This is necessary with big and thick designs since they cover a big part of your nail and usually the glue on them is pretty strong, so you'll need to weaken it. Option number two is also a double tip. When you remove these types of vinyls, 99% of the times you'll still have the thingies that should have been removed still stuck inside. So to remove them, you just have to flip the paper, stick the vinyl onto the paper, press on all of the vinyl with your finger, and then carefully remove it. Then just stick it on and you're good to go. You don't want to repeat these methods more than once on each vinyl, or else the glue will be too weak to use. But if you're lucky and you remove it and it all comes out perfectly, or that you're using a thin vinyl or a thin striping tape, you don't have to weaken the glue because it's too thin to ruin anything. When removing the vinyl, you have two options. Option number one, you remove it with tweezers. This is the most common and easiest way because it's the cleanest way possible to remove a vinyl, because it won't ruin the nail polish on your nail, and it's really easy to lift the vinyl because it's so precise. But sometimes it's out of reach physically because you can't reach it, or maybe you forgot to bring it, or maybe you don't have one. Option number two is you remove it with your nail. This is pretty easy, but if you have fresh nail polish on your other hand, or maybe a design, or maybe your nails are really weak, then don't use this method. You can use the first one, but you can choose whatever is best for you. The next tip is to ease the application when you're using a lot of striping tapes. You can cut a lot in advance and then place them somewhere for an easier access. I always use my nail polish remover bottle, but you can use whatever you want. But don't misunderstand me, you can't keep it like that for a few days or something. You can only use them while you're using the design, or else the glue will dry and it will ruin it. Next tip is when you stick the vinyl onto your nail, make sure that everything's stuck properly by pressing on it gently with your finger. You need to make sure that there aren't any air bubbles or loose areas, or else the polish that you'll apply on it will spill underneath and ruin the design. When you put on a vinyl that doesn't have loose ends outside of your nail, it'll be easier for you to leave a small opening, so it will be easy and fast to remove when you apply the polish before it dries. If you forget to leave a loose end in advance and you're like, what am I gonna do now? You can just peel off the corner right after you stuck it on your nail, or even after you apply the polish. It'll just be harder for you and more stressful. You can use the same vinyl twice or more in the same design if it's long enough. Just cut it and place it somewhere else. Another tip is, if the vinyl isn't big enough, you can create the rest of the vinyl with nail veil or liquid latex. When you're using a big vinyl like this, make sure that you cut the sides so it will stick better. Also cut the excess so it will stick better and won't get in the way. If you're using a gradient or using a sponge for another technique, apply liquid latex for an easier cleanup. Now apply the polish in the method that you choose. When you apply the polish, don't overload it or it will spill. Remove the vinyl quickly before the polish has a chance to dry, because if you give it too much time to dry, it'll smudge and have this sticky 3D effect look, which I'm sure it's not what you were going for. Needless to say, you only work one nail at a time, but also if you're using more than one vinyl on each nail, then work one application at a time, which means apply one color, remove one vinyl, apply another color, and then remove another vinyl, and so on and so forth. Remove the vinyl, and when you remove it, make sure that you remove it in the direction of it so it won't ruin the design. And what I mean by that, if the vinyl is horizontal, remove it horizontally. If the vinyl is vertically, remove it vertically. If it's diagonally, remove it diagonally. And if it has a different shape, like a swirl or something, then, remove it by swirling it. When you put vinyls on top of each other, it doesn't really matter if there are a lot of vinyls or 2 or 3. The most important thing is that you remember the order that you put them on your nail. When you remove it from last to first, it'll come out smoothly as here, but if you remove them in the incorrect order, it'll drag all of the vinyls and ruin the application of the polish that you applied on top. So make sure that you remember the order that you put them on. Clean up around your nail if necessary. If the colors you applied spilled somehow and ruined the design, don't worry, you can fix it. You can always clean up with a small brush tinted to nail polish remover, and it will work best if you have top coat underneath it. But if you don't have top coat, you need to be gentle and careful so you won't ruin the polish underneath. Let it dry completely and then apply top coat. If the design has stripes that aren't vertically, then apply the top coat in the direction of the design so it won't smear. That's pretty much it, but I also have some bonus tips. If you don't want to waste another vinyl and the vinyl that you just used isn't too dirty and the glue is okay, you can reuse it on a different nail. Of course, you can reuse it only in a matter of a few minutes and not keep it. I usually do it when I use the new vinyl on my pictured hand, which is the left one, and I reuse it on my right hand because no one sees it, but actually it looks pretty okay, so it doesn't really matter. If you don't have a vinyl in the exact same shape or size or design that you want, then you can always DIY it. To DIY nail vinyls, you have two options. Option 1, you can create a DIY nail vinyl with a sticker. Take a sticker of your choice, it doesn't really matter what it looks like as long as it sticks. And then what you need to do is to cut the vinyl. But if you don't know how to cut it specifically, then you can always draw on it and then cut according to the shape. Just stick it on your nail and then it just works like regular nail vinyl. Option number 2 is my favorite option. I always use this for other stuff, and it's using nail veil or liquid latex. All you have to do is just use a nail veil or liquid latex that has a small brush, and then you can do detailed work with it. And then all you have to do is just paint on your nail the design that you want. Add some more extra so it will be thick enough and big enough to remove. Paint on the polish and remove it. Also, when you're using vinyls, you don't only have to use them as guidelines, you can also use them as the design itself. You can seriously just cut this one out and keep it like that on your nail, or you can just take single ones like these leaves and place them on the nail, or you can just use striping tapes like I did in this video. And that is it, everyone. I've worked so hard on this video. I've edited forever, and I really hope that you guys actually learned from this video. And let me know down in the comments below if you want me to do other one-on-one videos like this. Make sure to subscribe for more videos like this and give this video a big thumbs up, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.